Hello and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help dads create a healthier and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval and I am your host. Today we are going to talk about mastering your emotions. But first, I just wanted to remind you that the divorce quiz is still up on the website. Lots of men are going through that, and we're having lots of conversations about where they are at in the divorce process, whether you're going through it or post-divorce. The divorce quiz will help you kind of get a gauge on where you're at mentally, emotionally, compared to others who have gone through divorce. So please check that out. It is a fantastic resource. All right, now on that note of mentally and emotionally where we're at, mastering your emotions. We've been talking quite a bit over the past, well, actually forever, about how these emotions come up during divorce. And in the class that I teach, the Dad's Divorce Blueprint, we talk in real specific detail about each of these emotions. But today I wanted to talk about 10 actions which will help you to master your emotions. And these are 10 brief steps. Obviously, with the time that we've got, we're not going to go into real intimate detail like we do in the Dad's Divorce Blueprint class or in private coaching, but these are going to give you a really good grasp on what to do and how to deal with when those emotions come up. And so the first tip is tune in and tune out. You know, anytime your emotions get the better of you, you tend to want to suppress what you're feeling. And hey, let's face it, dealing with something that's intense can be rough. And who wants to deal with that kind of vulnerability, right? It's disconcerting. It's uncomfortable. Can be worrisome. So you know, the problem is that it's not going to go away. You're not going to be able to bury it, and you're not going to be able to ignore it forever. It's going to come back somehow. And so these suppressed emotions, oftentimes what happens is they will always manifest some other way, particularly in physical ailments. You're likely to get sick more often if you're pushing down these emotions and feelings, rather than if you're willing to deal with them openly. So, but you know, tuning into the emotions can also mean tuning out all the distractions that you're using to suppress them. So that's the tune out part. So tune into what you're feeling and the emotions that are coming out. Tune in to all these other things that we might be doing in order to suppress them. So, you know, whether that's too many video games or watching video games or drinking too much or doing drugs or whatever it might be, anything that's numbing those feelings and suppressing those feelings, you need to tune out of those, because you know, accepting what you feel is the only way you're going to ever going to fully master your emotions. All right, step 2. Roy Rogers. This is called Roy Rogers and You. And if any of you are old enough to remember this, and I'm aging myself here, Roy Rogers had a horse called Trigger, who took him through some pretty wild adventures wherever he wanted to go. And so, believe it or not, you have a horse named Trigger also, and your Trigger is not a horse. It's these emotions that are pushing you in a new direction, whether you want to or not. So, you know, a trigger is something in your life and a reminder that can suddenly shove you emotionally in a new direction. It could be something like smelling oatmeal cookies baking as a trigger that might remind you of your grandma, which would be a good trigger, which might bring up a good emotion. Seeing somebody argue, or a man and a woman argue on the street might trigger a reminder of how your parents fought, which might be an uncomfortable trigger that's not feeling quite as good. So if you want to take control of your emotions, you have to know what your triggers are, and more importantly, why you have them. So only when you're armed with this information can you work past them and derail the emotional overload you never wanted in the first place. So be aware and pay attention. That's part of that tuning in the first step that we talked about, or the first action that we suggested. Tune into what those triggers are and be aware of them. All right. Number 3, get off the merry-go-round. You have a thought, it might be bothering you, one which evokes a very strong emotional response. So you put it back in your head, and then you revisit it, and then you revisit it again, and then you revisit it again and again and again. And you know what I'm talking about. It's that ruminating brain thing that you keep going over and over and over in your mind. So does that sound familiar? If you've ever overthought something to the point of working yourself into an emotional frenzy, you know just how hard it can be to get off the merry-go-round. The hard part, we get stuck into this repetitive thinking for a reason. When something disturbs us, we keep trying to process it all over again, hoping it might show us something different. That could be the ending, the end of a romantic relationship, the end of our marriage, a breakup, the sudden loss of a loved one, all become fodder in the what could I have done differently playlist. So we go over and over in our head all the time. So what's the way out from the merry-go-round? Is remember you've been here before. Take one step back and break the overthinking spiral by refusing to think about it for a period of time. How long can that be, or how long does that have to be? It can be even just a few minutes. So that doesn't mean that you're going to go play video games or drink or do something to bury what it is that might be on your mind. It just means that you are going to take a few minutes from thinking about that particular thing and get on with your life, to shift your thinking a little so you can get off that merry-go-round once and for all. And after a while, what you'll start seeing happen is that it will be extended periods of time before you start thinking about that particular uncomfortable, disturbing thought again. Okay. Number 4, dare to be self-aware. Have you ever considered that you might be getting it wrong? Now, what does that mean? When you become wrapped up in emotion, more often than not, you're basing your analysis on what you feel on the evidence before you. You try to figure out what you're feeling by your physical response. For example, you might interpret a racing heart coupled with an upset stomach, sweaty palms, and a twitch to move as fear. Sometimes you might not know what you're feeling at all. When you're in a new experience, you have to figure out where you are by the clues. You start asking, have I felt this way before? What was I doing at the time? What emotion was that? Now, at this point, we're just talking about being aware. By becoming more aware of yourself, you become more in tune emotionally. This in turn makes it easier to not only understand your emotions, but to control them. All you have to do is pay attention. So now this still, again, ties into number 1, but what it ties into is your physical body as well. So pay attention to what may be going on as well, not just your thoughts, but what might be happening in your physiology. Okay, number 5, talking to the voices in my head. And I don't know about you, but I talk to myself all day long. But when you are doing that, who do you hear when you talk to yourself? And this is a fantastic question, because if you're feeling on edge emotionally, it might have something to do with your self-talk, especially if you've been negative with yourself a lot lately. The problem is the voice in your head isn't always your own voice. You carry memories of what everyone you've ever met has said to you. Things repeated often become especially intense, more so when they're spoken by people who hold important roles in your life. And so if you're like me, there may have been times in your life where something sticks. Somebody says something to you that sticks. Now, this can be positive and this can be negative. There have been people that have come in and out of my life, people that have said things that have been positive, that have positively influenced my life. There's also been a ton of people that have said things that have been negative that stick in your mind. So paying attention to those voices when you're thinking about stuff as to whether or not yours are important. So if you're speaking yourself in someone else's voice, it might be time to just back off a little bit, rework that dialogue and speak your truth about yourself, focusing entirely on the positive and tell the negative voices to take a hike. So if you've had an experience where somebody said something to you negatively and that sticks, it could be something about you, it could be something about a physical attribute, it could be something about who you are and something that has negatively stuck in your mind. All we're doing is we're rewiring ourselves to think positively about that. And when we do that, we are then back in control of our emotions and our life by rewiring our thought process. Okay, that was number 5. Number 6, grab the good stuff. What are you feeling right now? When you focus on your emotions, you can't help but classify them as good emotions or bad emotions, but in truth, emotions are just neutral. For example, feeling fear can be good. It keeps us safe. So these emotions are come up in our body to help us to be aware of something. So in this in this example, it's telling us to beware of something that might be hurting us. That also, but if you become full of fear, you don't dare leave the house. You start thinking this emotion might be bad, or it's or at least bad for you, or too much bad emotions could do a number on your emotional well-being, or you might get stuck. And that's where you just, if you're stuck in an emotion, then that becomes a problem. If you're feeling overwhelmed by emotions that really aren't serving you or holding you back, it's time to change the focus. Step away from the bad emotions by focusing on the good ones. Now, the good ones can be gratitude, they can be love, they can be happiness. Fill your mind with these and your stress levels will drop and your world will be made right again. And so taking those emotions, again, we're rewiring our brain to not focus on ones that may be challenging or are uncomfortable to us. Now, again, fear, something like that can be making us aware to something that we need to be paying attention. So just pay attention to what the emotion is. But if it's something that is not serving you, then move yourself into an emotion that does serve you, something like gratitude. Gratitude is a great one, and one that has just worked wonders, and anybody that I've ever talked to has worked wonders with. If you can take a minute, if you're in an emotion that is challenging, an emotion that you've identified that is not serving you, sit and write a gratitude list. You can just write 10 things you're grateful for in that moment. You can even be grateful that you're having this emotion, right? So, and so you can, and we're going to talk in another step about doing this. So I'm not going to get too far down the road. Okay. Number 7, don't forget to breathe. Now, this is a really great practical application that I could probably use when I'm doing and recording this podcast because I start talking so fast. Just take a breath. Life has a way of catching us up in heavy emotions, particularly when we're going through a challenging time like divorce. So sometimes we just get mad or sad or worried, depending on what's going on around us. And sometimes those emotions come on really, really strong. So, but you can break free from those emotions. And they say the initial emotions just last, I think it's something like 19 seconds. So all you need to do is work to regain your control. And there's a simple solution that works on your emotions from anything to shame to anger to happiness to sadness. And, I mean, sometimes if you're manic, you might want to just calm a little bit too. So, and that is just breathing, learning to breathe, taking a few deep breaths where you focus everything. So you completely tune everything out. You focus your whole being on those breaths will interrupt that thought process. And it just jolts you out of that emotional cycle. And if you do it like I'm gonna give you an example of right now, it's gonna get you past those 19 seconds and you'll get through that emotion. And a simple breathing technique is take a deep breath in to the count of 4. So you're just gonna, just like that, and you're going to hold it for 4 seconds. You're just going to count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and you're going to do that in your head, and then you're going to release it slowly out for 4 seconds. 1002, 1003, 1002, 1003, 1004. If I could count to 4, that'd be so helpful. It's a prerequisite that you know how to count to 4 to do this exercise. Anyway, so then you're gonna repeat this 4 times. So that's going to be, that you're going to be getting close to a full minute. So you'll be well past that 19 seconds that you need to get through that emotions. And so by the time, if you try this, I promise, by the time you get done with this, you're definitely gonna feel a difference. All right, number 8, no steps forward until you step back. So feel like you're getting in too deep, that your emotions are too intense. You have good cause then to protect yourself, because these are coming up for a reason, especially if you're if the feelings in charge are the negative ones. So too much worry, anxiety, anger, they can all derail your day, and you may need to take a break. So to avoid these situations, it's essential to give yourself a timeout now and again. All right. And so here's an example. If you're always getting mad when you're hanging around with a particular person, maybe it's better not to spend time with that person. So, or here's another example. If you're watching the news and it makes you anxious, which I don't know about you, but it does me these days, all the negativity, and that's part of the design of news, either switching the channel to something else or turning it completely off, which I highly, highly recommend, is going to give you a break like that. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, that's contrary to what you're saying in the beginning, like avoidance might seem like a defeat, but consider this. Sometimes we just need a breather from what's driving us crazy so we can come back and try again later when we're more rested and ready to deal with a challenge. So, and just make sure that when you come back when you're not hungry or angry or tired or lonely or sad. Okay, make sure that you're in a good mindset, because you can always deal with stuff later, but you got to make sure to come back to later. You don't want to do what we talked about in the beginning, which is just tuning out and avoiding whatever it is. Okay, number 9. Number 9 is step away from the email. Lately, so it seems like, and I have mostly removed myself entirely from social media and in the internet, with the exception of these podcasts and the web and my website and the blogging and stuff like that. But it just seems like all anybody does on the internet is bicker. And so if you tune into the social media, everybody's at odds with everybody. Everybody's furious. Everybody's assured of how right they are and how wrong everybody else is. And it's enough to make you sick. And seriously, positively, it will make you sick if you stay mucked and mired and engaged in it. So anytime you let your emotions get all wrought up, you will experience a physical effect on your body, like we said. And stress can make your stomach upset, give you headaches, leave you more more susceptible to pain, raise your blood pressure. It could even cause a heart attack. So with all that going on, why put yourself into a situation where you're deliberately risking all of this? Turn off the screens, limit your screen time, get off of social media, get off of any of your feeds, and just take some time to do something that is going to help you to just tune into yourself. For me, that's listening to classical music or any music. Music is a great elixir, something that can help to calm you. It can be going for a walk. It can be doing something as opposed to looking at that social media and looking at something that is going to get you worked up. All right, and finally, recharge your battery. So here's the thing. How many times are you going to exhaust yourself completely before you realize the cost of emotions which are out of control? And so let me just put this in two contexts also, because that's not just emotions that you might classify as negative or challenging, but anytime you let an emotion at all get out of hand, you're going to get fatigued and you're going to get tired. And so, think about it in this way also. If you had a party, or you had a birthday party, or had some sort of celebration, you were going all day and you're at this elevated emotional level, which was a good elevated emotional level. But at the end of the day, you're just, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Well, that's the same as if you're this happening when you're in a stressful environment as well, and you're exhausted as well. So your body just can't carry that much supercharged mental energy without having a break. So and you have control over whether you can or can't, or do or don't pull your emotions back under control when you're worn out. So this is where self-care is critical, and self-care really comes in. Unless you can recharge your energy levels, you're never going to be able to address exactly what's going on emotionally. And that's that's when I say make sure that if you're hungry or angry or lonely or tired or sad, that you're being aware of that, and give yourself time. Take care of all of your basic needs: getting enough sleep, eating right, exercising, and taking care of your mental and emotional state, like we talked about. And all this is going to help you get back on track. So then you can get your mind back on track. Because if you don't do this and all those previous 9 steps, you're not tuned into what's coming up. You're not tuning out all of the escapes. You're not going through the process. You're not aware to breathe. You're not aware of anything else that you need to do. So it is critically important, and we've talked about it multiple times on the show, to number one, first thing that you do is take care of yourself. Now, I left that for the 10th one. Maybe I should have put that up front, but that is an absolute priority. You can't take care of anybody else. You can't take care of your kids during this process, or anything else, if you're not taking care of yourself first. So those are 10 action steps that you can take in order to master your emotions during this challenging time. So if you don't remember all of those 10, don't worry. I'm going to put this up in a blog post on the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, and you can reference it there, or feel free to click on the book a call at the website, and we can talk about effective ways for you to work through one or more of these completely free. We'll take a half hour. We'll just talk about ways in which I can help you or give you some more tips on mastering your emotions. Thanks for listening today. I appreciate it. As always, if you found value in what you heard today, please like us, please subscribe, please share this with another divorced dad that you may know. It could change his life. Thank you. Take care.